and anyone who really knew esports and knew Overwatch esports specifically in depth knew it was never going to be a success. The way that they did the league was awful, and it was so artificial, and it didn't really have a chance. Like the Overwatch team never had a chance to thrive. The Dante made $1 million from AL, meaning salary. There's a 0% chance he made $1 million from AL, like a straight up 0% chance. Even if he's on 200k a year, which is not true. Like, they're like half that gets taxed, right? And he's talking pre-tax, then even that I think is unlikely. Dante's not worth 200k a year, like nowhere near. Rating the same amount of people like V-Rising. Guys, V-Rising's a popular game. There's dozens of us who play it. Dante a Doom main or dead stream? I don't think his stream's dead, but like, yeah, he is a Doom main. Doom's his main hero, but he plays some Mario though, right? I mean, Dante is a really good player, but like, if you're telling me like, is he worth $1 million over 6 years? Like, you're on crack. Like, Dante is at peak, maybe like a top 15, 20 player in the league, right? That would imply that there's like 15, 20 players that you'd pay more than him, right, per year. I know Dante. I feel bad for Dante because I think his career got shattered the most with Overwatch 2 because he was like, he went for this like in the both playing tank and thingy.
So, first season, I was making pebbles. I made like 70k, I think 67k. And honestly, I'm mad at my agent because I talked to the Shock staff later and they said they were like prepared to give me at least like 100. So, fuck my agent for just signing me really early and not trying to bargain that hard. But it's whatever, I guess.
Okay, overpaid.
And then season 2 Outlaws, I made 125k.
Right.
Then season 3 Outlaws, I made 150k. And season 4, I made 225k.
That's crazy.
Season 5, I made 200k. Then season 6 with Glads, I made 100k. Those are all my salaries.
That's insanely overpaid, by the way. I mean, for the record, this is why.
225, yeah.
Like, this is why the league failed. Like, some of the player salaries are just like completely crazy. Like, it's genuinely crazy. If that's actually true. I mean, you have to think, right? Like I'm not like, when I say like these people don't deserve the money, literally no one in the league deserves more than 100k a year. Like, genuinely. Because like every single fucking like team is operating at a loss pretty much. Like, and when you're hiring, like at one point in the league like teams, it was not uncommon for teams to have like 10 to 12 players. Like when I played on Fusion, we had 12 players in our roster, right? Which means at most 6 people are playing, which means 6 people are being paid for not playing, right? And on something that's already making a loss, like if you just take out, instead of having 12 players in a roster, you have 8 in 6v6, and you have a bit of flexibility. Like, even if you assume everyone's making 50k salary, you take out 4 people from that team, that's 200k you just don't have to pay. Chat, you say I made the least money in the league, right? If you look at how much money I made versus how much work I put in for the team, I was by far the highest paid player in the history of the league. People getting paid, I play video games. Well, certain video game players, like someone like Faker is worth, you could pay Faker like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and he would be worth it, right? Like you could pay him, I think he's on like 1.5 million a year, and like that's like a reasonable salary for the guy, because the guy has such an absurdly large fan base that like he is the brand. Like he is T1. Like, even though he's not the best player on T1 anymore, he is the brand. And that team will make a lot of money. That's why they've been doing it for like so many years. So like at the end of the day, like players are worth how much like teams are willing to pay for them and making a profit, right? The league invested in players and invested in teams with the goal that it would make a profit in the end, and it never happened. And anyone who really knew esports and knew Overwatch esports specifically in depth knew it was never going to be a success. The way that they did the league was awful, and it was so artificial, and it didn't really have a chance. Like the Overwatch team never had a chance to thrive. If they released Overwatch League 2 years later than they did, it might have actually been
my career's behind.
Might have actually been like successful, but because they jumped the gun before the game had a real like actual like identity as an esport, And specifically, it's not so much that as well. It's that like what? Like Overwatch League started like, was it 2018? Was it 2017? I don't remember. But what they did is that they basically shut down every single private organizer running tournaments, which means like stuff like DreamHack and ESL, etc., they just can't host tournaments because they just don't have the permissions because Blizzard denied them. Which therefore means that the organic esports scene cannot grow. Which means that Blizzard are putting all their eggs in the basket of that their individual league is going to succeed. And when it doesn't, because Blizzard are historically bad at dealing with esports, it fails. I mean, you look at Blizzard's most successful like esports games, it's like StarCraft, right? Probably. Like, is like StarCraft Brood War? I assume StarCraft Brood War was made by Blizzard, right? But like that scene is popular because the Koreans at like Africa run it so well. That's why. In general, like when a company who makes a game gets involved in the esports side of it and monopolizes it, generally it isn't successful. Like League of Legends is like in my opinion the big outlier. But I think League of Legends as a game is so popular that it was impossible for it to. It was basically impossible for the esports side of League to ever really fail. And I think also Riot just ahead of the curve when it comes to that sort of thing. I still think though that like CS has the healthiest esports scene of any game.
Holy shit, bro.
Even though I don't watch CS esports anymore, like I still think it has like the best format and it's like the most healthy for the players. I guess the only downside is that players have to travel a lot for tournaments, but like I think the tournament format is much better for everyone. Like from a viewer perspective, it's way more engaging, and having different companies investing into it to host their own esport is so good for everyone because you don't get a monopoly, right? The issue of monopoly, like when like Overwatch esports does something, like basically Overwatch esports can do whatever the fuck they want, and they're gonna have the monopoly over the Overwatch esports anyway. Like Blizzard can do whatever the fuck they want, but with Overwatch, it's just like they can do things badly, which they have, or things well, which they have as well. But like there's no like, oh, like one tournament has a bad format, like everyone disliked it. Like as their competitor, we're just gonna host a better format. And then everyone's going to prefer this major, which means more people watch, which means more revenue, more people, etc., etc., etc. Like, competition really is what breeds, like, in this sort of space, it's really, really, really important. Even in the V Rising community, it's the same way. Who's the best DPS player of all time? Probably Prophet. I think Prophet's probably the best player of all time in Overwatch history, I'd say. I mean, I don't know, like... Weirdly enough, like my pick for the best Western DPS, at least my best Western DPS player of all time, is probably Soon. But Kevster, I think you make a really solid case to Kevster as well. But I actually like think people who know ball, Soon pre Overwatch League, and Soon in season 1, and then to a lesser extent season 2 was legitimately like.
Nice. She's...
I think my door open. Was legitimately like god tier player. Like Soon was the only player like in his prime I thought like genuinely like, I guess Kevster as well was like competing with like the Koreans, like Kevster and Kai, I guess. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anyone. I think there was that period of time where like people were talking about like SPB. It was like SPB, Prophet, and someone else playing Tracer. Like I thought Soon was like right in that mix. No, Sinatra's not even close to the GOAT. SPB, CLBLB. But I just think like a lot of those like Tracer players were like Tracer players, right? Like Soon was like elite, like top 5 on Tracer, and also like top 5 on Kree, on Soldier and Widow. Like in terms of like pure hitscan players, like he's like. Like definitely the most complete non-Korean player of all time. Like, I think the peak of Overwatch esports, in my opinion, was when it was. I don't remember what season it was. I think it was Apex season 4, when the finals was between GC Busan and Kongri Panthera. I think it was. That to me was the peak of Overwatch esports. That was the peak of individual skill. The best like meta there was, the highest skill games you've ever seen in Overwatch, in my opinion. I think it was absolutely incredible levels of Overwatch played. I think you make a really solid case that GC Busan team, like this is what makes the London Spitfire Season 1 team, in my opinion, the best team of all time. Is that you had like, in my opinion, the 2 best teams in the world, GC Busan and Kongri Panthera. and they basically merged and made London Spitfire. Because you had like Prophet, like it was always like this comparison between like Prophet versus Birdring, like who was better, you know, etc, etc. And then they joined up on the same team, which is absolutely insane to think about. Like their only weakness was their main support was kind of shit, like Nuss. I think it was like Nuss and someone else, I don't remember, some like pretty shit player. But every single other role, they were either the best. I mean, I would argue they had the best main tank in the league, Gesture. I would argue they had 2 of the 3 best off flex tanks in Fury and then they had the second best flex support in the league at the time, in my opinion, with Bedosen, only behind Jonak. And then they had the best, I think they had the best DPS player in the league, Prophet, and they had a top 3, top 4 DPS player in the league in Birdring. I mean, that team was actually like disgustingly stacked. Like they won the overall tournament and they literally underperformed is the thing. It was actually disgusting how good they were. Gave us Empire, yeah. I mean Jonak in season 1 was like absolutely like he really was like, at least in the regular season, was so far ahead of everyone else with that hero. It was actually disgusting. But like in the playoffs, it kind of was not that much better than Bedosen, if at all. Then after season 1, he fell off a cliff. I think he was the first one who really showed like what you can do on Zen as a hero. Best tank players either Orisa or Monkey all time. You thought a Gesture? I mean, I don't know. Okay, yeah, yes. Like, I mean, I understand people saying like most people argue with Gestures that he wasn't very good at Ryan. Like, okay, like sure, I'll grant you that. But like, at the time, like like he played the meta heroes. He played Orisa and Winston, which are basically the 2 meta tanks in season 1. And he was the best Orisa and the best Winston in the league by like a long shot. There'll never be a better flex player than Arm. I mean, I think like, for me at least, in terms of like raw talent as a player, I think Alarm's probably the most talented player I've ever seen play the game. But like, I mean, it's hard to say because obviously his career was unfortunately not as long as it should have been. But like, I think he's one of the few players that I genuinely think was like Overwatch League starter level on all 3 roles. Like, you ever seen him play his DPS? Yeah, his DPS was insane. He started off as a tank player, so his tank is good as well. Why is that bug still in the game? Super? Or what about Super? I hate when I talk about all-time great Overwatch League players and then people mention Super and Sinatra every time in Dafran. I know there's respect to these guys, but like, there's levels to it. Super's an all-time great. I mean, like Super in his prime was really good at Ryan. Like top 3 Ryan. He's probably a top 3 Ryan all time. But like, he's played it, like his entire career he played on super teams. Which, I mean, I guess you can make the same argument for Gesture, right? But I don't know. I think he's hard to rank because obviously because it was like fucking, because it's him, his personality. Oh, dude, what the fuck is that? Top for a main tank ever, come on. Fearless Swerve Super. The fact that you're even considering putting Super ahead of Gesture is genuinely batshit delusional, by the way. You probably make a solid case he's top 5, right? I don't know how to rate. He's probably better than Mano. I mean, if you're talking main tank, I guess main tank. I'm trying to think, bro. Harry Butcher, best try. Easily better than Mano? Yeah, I mean, he is better than Mano, like for sure. I don't know, like who else. I'm trying to think. Maybe he's 4th then.
On top, maybe.
I love nasty Zarya players. Zarya's, I don't know. I like Zarya as a hero. Sinatra is probably the best Zarya ever, actually. I think it's the one hero I think he's actually genuinely cracked at. I don't know, like Sinatra's Zarya was genuinely incredible. Like, the problem is that was really his only good hero. Like, his only elite hero, I think, truly was his Zarya. Like, his Doomfist was good, but like, my Doomfist was unironically better than his. Like, all memes aside, like at that time, my Doomfist was absolutely better than his. I mean, I literally scrimmed against him multiple times. Doom me doom and shit on him every time. Wasn't even close. Obviously, like, he has a DP hero pool, but like, people really raved about his Tracer, but I thought his Tracer was bang average. The problem is now is that everyone has recency bias on everything. Like, people forget like how good players like Fury were in his prime, how good players like Gesture were and Prophet were. Like, Prophet is like simultaneously most like underrated. I mean, I don't think you can overrate him because I think he's the best player ever. But like, people have this like mentality that like Prophet is like completely dog shit at the game. Like, he's like, he's crazy. When was my prime? My actual, when I was actually the best as a player at this game was probably like late 2016. Before I quit playing for the first time. Like, my Genji was like top 3 in Europe at that time. Like, top 4 in Europe at worst. Like, Shadowboom was better, Tivik was better, but besides that, I was better than everyone else. I was better than Linkser. I was better than, I don't remember who else was playing at that point. In Europe, that was. And then we go to Poco. Yeah, Poco's definitely top 5, but Fury is better than Poco. I mean, I played with both players. Poco had a better Zarya, but Fury had a much better D.Va, and I think that Fury's Zarya was better than Poco's D.Va, if that makes sense. Prime and Al, no, I was nowhere near my Prime and Al. Where do you go, mate, Rupa? I mean, I don't know. Like, the thing is, like my opinion, basically, like, I didn't watch the last 2 seasons of Overwatch League, so like, my opinion on players like Proper and like RuPaul and etc., all these people is like, I don't know. I just don't know. I just find it really, really hard to judge. Like, cause I mean, maybe I'm like looking back at nostalgia, but I just don't think the last 2 to 3 seasons of Overwatch League have really been that competitive compared to what it was like back in the first, like, especially the first 2 seasons. I think was really when it was at its peak. 2022 is the peak of competition. I mean, maybe. I'm probably kind of boomer. I'm probably kind of boomer with my takes, but I still think season 1 was overall the highest like level of like skill and competitiveness. Season 2 was ruined by goats towards the end. Season 3, what was season 3? Season 3 is season I was in. So season 2 was GOAT. So season 1, the ending was GOAT. The ending of season 1 was just when GOAT started. Now season 2 was GOAT all the way through until they added 222. Then season 3 was the season I played, which I think was also really good. I think actually season 3 was probably better than season 1. No bias. But season 1 was definitely the peak of Overwatch League. And I think you're actually right, Frosty. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, I think Widow being as strong as she was really, really, really good for the spectator. Like, the meta in season 1 was so fucking skilled, I think, the entire fucking time. It was such a fucking good time. Like, especially like pre-Owl as well, I think was really when the game was best. Jonak was my favorite beast player. I didn't even play support, but he was cracked. Yeah, Jonak in season 1 was fucking disgusting. And I think obviously season 3 got kind of shit on because of COVID, right? That's also why I think season 1 and 2 was so much better, because everything was on LAN. I think the fact that games are online basically makes everything irrelevant. Like who gives a shit when games are online? It's like the gap between like LAN and online is such an absurdly large gap. Like that most esports, like online tournaments, just don't mean anything. So I'm waiting for the V Rising LAN. There's never got a fair chance, like Onigon Logics, yeah. I think probably the guy who had his career gimped the most in his career was a guy called Dante. Now, not the American Dante with an H, just Dante with an E. He was really, 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 really good in his prime. Like in season 1, like pre-season 1, basically Dante was like just as good as Tracer as Logix, and Logix was like a really, really, really elite Tracer player at the time. Even going into season 1, he was really good. And his team and Logix's team merged, so one of them had to make the choice to go flex support. One of them had to make the choice to go to stay on DPS. And Dante basically sacrificed himself to go on DPS, and he was good as flex support. He was never quite as good as he was on DPS. He basically entered his career for Logix, which I have immense respect for. I mean, if I'm being genuinely honest, like Overwatch 1 Doomfist, in my peak, I generally don't. I think the only Doomfist player who was probably better than me is Daned. I genuinely don't think any of the Overwatch League players who played the hero were ever actually good at the hero. Like no cap on a stack. Like Overwatch 1 Doom had so many weird intricacies and complexities in his kit that you had to one trick the hero to really be able to play him at the highest level. I mean, I'm not talking about Overwatch 2 Doom, because Overwatch 2 Doom is a very different character, right? Ben Sparkle, yeah, I genuinely think that my peak of Doomfist was better than Sparkle's peak of Doomfist. I watched Sparkle play. Sparkle's really good at Doomfist, but almost everything he can do, I can do, and I can do more than him. Obviously, my biggest issue is the fact that I don't play other heroes at that level really hinders you as Doomfist, because Doomfist is a hero that's really easy to counter. Especially Overwatch 1 Doomfist was like super easy to counter. So having it as a pocket pick, was really, really impressive. Now you're insane. Oh, I'm not. I mean, I don't know. Like, whether or not you believe me, I don't care. Like, I know how good I was at that hero in my prime. I remember scrimming against Overwatch League teams and annihilating them. Like, I was there. I took part. Like, do I think I would stay rank 1? No. Other people would catch up to me once they realized what I'm doing and the things that I was doing that other people wasn't. What happened? The main problem was Doomfist was just a shit hero. That was the problem. Like, the hero just wasn't viable at high elo. Like, when you're playing professional level, he was a situational pocket pick. That was his problem. He was never viable as a one trick. So the best way I could have improved my Doomfist was improving my other heroes, which then allows me to play Doomfist. If that makes, like, as weird as that sounds. Because all they have to do is play Tracer Sombra and you're completely worthless. You're actually a completely worthless sack of shit. But in that season 3, most people considered, like, Sinatra the best Doomfist player. And I'm telling you, bro, I was light years ahead of that guy. I was legitimately light years ahead of that guy on that hero. Also switching a Doom? Exactly. Like, it's one thing, if you know your opponent can only play one hero, you can make your entire game plan around countering that one hero because you know he's not good enough to swap to another hero. But let's say I played a Tracer that was really solid. It means that then if they build their entire comp around me playing Doom, then I can play Tracer, which means their entire game plan is thrown out the window because I'm not playing the hero that they wanted to. Lion Doom are being good at the game. I think that, I mean, Sinatra was good at Doom, but I think the main problem that the league had was that genuinely people didn't, like, at that point, people didn't know how to play against DPS Doom. Like, a lot of people, like, were really caught by it because it was never viable for such a long time that when it became good in certain metas, when certain hero bans were there, it got to the point where, like, the good people who could play him, like, even if you didn't play him well, you could get value on him. But if you could play him really well, like, I was legitimately playing in games where I was the best player in a game where, like, every single other player in the game was actually better than me at the game, just because I was so good at my hero, and they just didn't know how to beat it. But then gradually, the problem is gradually, then teams started to figure out how to beat Doomfist, so it became less viable. But, like, for instance, like if you look at the Season 2 finals, right? Like, when Sinatra was playing Doomfist, you put me on Doomfist in that series, and I do more than he does. We win that series harder than they win it with Sinatra. I mean, that was the season, I'm pretty sure, where I was rank 1 the entire season. Like, I know rank doesn't really matter, but, like, I was legitimately rank 1 the entire season. Till the end where Leaf took over me, the cheeky bastard. I actually think that the other hero that my thesis holds true for is Hammond, I think, as well. Like, Hammond is another hero. I think generally, like, the best one tricks in the world are actually better at the hero at that time than the top pro players. I think that the only two heroes I think that's true for, because both Doomfist and Hammond at that point were just such a bizarre, like, they had such weird, like, intricacies in matchup specific design that, like, it was hard to, like, it was hard to do it, right? Holy.
My team is AFK. My team is so scared. My team is AFK. My team is so scared. My team is AFK. My team is so scared. My team is AFK. It's just bullshit. Hey, friends. We're both friends. Yeah. Hey, friends.